Welcome to the TOEFL listening section. In this part, you will hear one or more conversations in an academic or campus context, such as a discussion between a student and a professor or between two students. You may take notes while listening. Listen to part of a conversation. You will hear it only once, so listen carefully. After the conversation, you will answer questions about what you heard. Some questions will ask you about main ideas and details. Others will ask about implied meaning, speaker attitude, or how ideas relate to one another. Use both what is stated and what is implied to answer.
Good afternoon, Dr. Morales. Thank you for meeting with me during office hours.
Hello, Marcus. It is good to see you. What would you like to discuss about project-based learning effectiveness?
I am working on my literature review, and I need to be sure I understand when hands-on approaches outperform traditional lecture methods.
That is a central question. Many studies show project-based learning improves engagement in higher-order skills, but the effect on factual recall is mixed.
When you say higher-order skills, do you mean things like analysis, synthesis, and problem-solving?
Yes, exactly. It enhances skills like problem-solving, transfer, and metacognition, because learners must plan, revise, and reflect as they work on authentic tasks.
Can you give a concrete example of a project that demonstrated those benefits?
In one engineering capstone course, students designed a low-cost water filtration system for a community partner. By iterating prototypes and testing, they showed better design reasoning and transferred to new problems than a control group taught by lectures.
Was assessment based on the final product or on the process?
They used both. A rubric evaluated the final prototype, and formative assessment captured process skills. Teachers observed, teamwork recorded design decisions, and used peer feedback to support revision.
So formative assessment seems important in project-based learning. Is that why outcomes improve?
Formative assessment is key. It allows scaffolding and timely feedback, which reduces cognitive load and supports deeper learning. It also makes tacit strategies visible so instructors can teach them.
I am worried about fidelity, though. If instructors do project-based learning poorly, could it be worse than lectures?
That is a valid concern. Implementation matters. When projects lack clear learning goals or scaffolding, students may focus on the artifact rather than the learning. In that case, performance on standardized measures can suffer.
What elements make a high-fidelity project-based learning experience?
Clear alignment with standards, explicit rubrics, scaffolding of complex tasks, opportunities for reflection, and authentic assessment. Also, teacher facilitation to prompt reasoning and to connect project activities to disciplinary concepts.
You mentioned reflection. How do teachers assess metacognition during a project?
I ask students to keep design journals and to write weekly reflections on their decisions and failures. When students articulate what changed in their thinking, I can assess shifts in metacognitive strategies.
Would a rubric for reflection be useful, or would that undermine authenticity?
A well-designed rubric can scaffold reflection. It should focus on depth of reasoning and evidence of strategy use rather than on length or form. That preserves authenticity while making assessment reliable.
How do group dynamics factor into effectiveness? I have seen strong students do most of the work.
Group work needs structure. Roles and individual accountability are important. Peer assessment and reflective logs help ensure equitable participation. Scaffolds for collaboration teach teamwork skills explicitly.
Is there evidence that project-based learning improves long-term retention or transfer to new contexts?
Meta-analyses suggest moderate positive effects for transfer and application tasks, especially when projects are long enough to allow iteration. Short projects often show smaller effects.
So project duration matters. What about cognitive load for novice learners?
Novices can be overwhelmed by open-ended projects. Scaffolding, such as worked examples, staged complexity, and targeted feedback, mitigates cognitive load and supports progression from guided tasks to more independent inquiry.
Do you have advice for measuring effectiveness? In my study, I plan to compare a project-based unit to a lecture unit.
Use multiple measures: pre-post tests for content knowledge, practical tasks for transfer observation, rubrics for process, and student reflections for metacognition. Also, document fidelity by recording teacher prompts and scaffolds.
Should I expect uniform gains across all students, or will benefits vary?
Benefits vary. Socioeconomic background, prior knowledge, and self-regulation influence outcomes. Differentiated supports are important to make projects equitable.
Thank you. This helps me refine my research questions and my data collection methods.
You are welcome, Marcus. If you want, I can review your draft instruments and help you design a fidelity checklist before you collect data.
That would be great. I will bring a draft next week.
Listen again to part of the conversation, then answer the question.
I ask students to keep design journals and to write weekly reflections on their decisions and failures. When students articulate what changed in their thinking, I can assess shifts in metacognitive strategies.
This concludes the conversation portion. For more TOEFL practice tests and study materials, visit Spinta.org.